might be fall, but now is the perfect time to get geared up for those fall clearance sales on weed whackers. Now, we have a bit of experience with weed whackers. One, because we're on the farm, and two, because we have 1,100 baby Christmas trees to have to weed whack around. So we've tried a couple different types of weed whackers to try to figure out which one is going to be the safest for our plants and get the job done and be easy to use. So we're going to go over 3 different weed whackers and see which one stacks up the best for different types of cutting. And you guys will also have the chance to win an attachment for your weed whacker too, one of our favorite attachments featured in this video. So definitely leave a comment down below for your chance to win. I will be picking one comment after 30 days and announce the winner underneath your comment. So definitely check back to see if you are a winner. Thanks so much, guys. Let's go take a look. Hey guys, and welcome back to the WT Farm Girl channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at something quite different. It's not very often I do product reviews and have several items to look at, but today you are in luck because today we're going to be looking at 3 different types of weed whackers. Now, if you're on a farm or if you have any sort of yard, chances are pretty good you have a weed whacker. Chances are also pretty good you may have cursed with that weed whacker. I know I'm not the only one, and we have a whole barn full of dead weed whackers to prove it. So today I'm going to present 3 different weed whackers, all that we have found great uses for, and allow you to cross compare them. One of these is actually an electric weed whacker. While you might be scoffing at the idea, there are some advantages to having an electric versus a gas-powered weed whacker. Let's go. So today we're actually going to be comparing 2 different Steel brand weed whackers along with a Dewalt weed whacker. Now the electric one is actually the Dewalt. I had to stop and look at that look at the end to make sure I was looking at the right one because they look very identical. This head pretty much looks the same as this head. The only difference that we see here in this group is right here. This is actually a blade weed whacker. Now the Steel weed whacker down there actually has several different head attachments, one of which also is a blade. But what's unique about this one is that this is a guard blade. Now if you watched our videos last year, you may have remembered Eric talking about this guard blade weed whacker and how much he really enjoyed it. A lot of people hadn't seen them and some people complained that they didn't work at all. If you've ever tried these and found it to not work, today we might be showing you a couple of reasons why it's not working for you and why it may actually be a better choice for you. Now with our Dewalt weed whacker, this is actually new for this year. Eric picked this up. I don't exactly remember why he wanted an electric weed whacker because we already had 2 very nice weed whackers that worked really well. But for some reason he thought this was going to be a better way to go. Something lightweight, something easy for our son to handle, because in case he hadn't noticed, we have a lot of stuff that needs to be weed whacked around. Namely, our Christmas trees. Our brand new Christmas tree farm last year that we started, one of our biggest obstacles is keeping the grass down around the trees because you can't run a lawnmower directly up into the trees. You can actually see the rows that we've done a couple weeks ago where we weed whacked around the Christmas trees. We haven't finished mowing because I had to go through and finish staking down our irrigation lines. I got that done, but unfortunately the heat caused them to ripple back up again. So now I have to go back through and stake them down again. So that has been a never-ending battle. But despite the fact it looks unruly, we are slowly taking it back. But around here, you can never have too many weed whackers. So 3 weed whackers that all work equally well is a great thing to have around here because there's 3 people in our family. All right, so the first one we're going to be looking at is this Steel. Now this is a Steel multi-head attachment. You just turn this lever here and then this slides out. This has several different attachments that you can buy to go with it. You might be lucky and find a kit that has several already included. This one I think might have had 2 included. It had the string head and then I think it had a blade head, similar to that but with no guard. You can get other attachments such as a chainsaw head, which I thought was pretty cool. So if you need to get up high to cut some branches for like trails through your woods, definitely a nice thing to have. As far as attaching and detaching, that is very straightforward, pretty easy to do. The one obstacle we had with this weed whacker was the string. Because we're on a farm and we have some pretty thick weeds out here, we ended up having to go with this triangle string, which you probably can't see it. but it's shaped like a triangle, and this is ultra heavy duty. It is a pain in the butt to actually load up on here, and this head tends to overheat. So that causes the string to actually melt, and then it won't come out. So then you have to take this apart, undo the string, cut it apart, load new string in. In a nutshell, it really likes to melt and eat string. So that has been a big pain in the butt with this model. But if we don't use a large string, we cannot chop through the majority of the weeds that spring up on the farm. They're just too heavy duty for this thing to handle. So this string actually cuts through them very nicely, and it holds up 2 fences. If you look at this right here, it probably caught the fence, and that's why it's shredded like that. Balance wise, this actually balances very nicely on the shoulder. One thing that is a must-have with this, it comes with a shoulder strap, a padded shoulder strap, which I highly recommend. It does swivel, but you can't move it up and down the handle like some of them you can. As far as I know, you can't move it up and down, but maybe this is able to move forward and backward. I don't know. One of the other features is it has a double trigger, so that's kind of like the safety, so you have to pull both in for this thing to run, and then we have a push button stop. It's your typical weed whacker right here. We've got full choke, half choke, and on. We have to push our bubble in 6 times to get it loaded, and then of course we have our oil gasoline mixture that goes right in here, and then a pull start. You'll see me pull start it in just a little bit. As far as weed whackers go, it's on the easier end of pull starting, and believe me, I've had some that from day one of unboxing I could not pull start it for the life of me. So this one has actually been very good. Price points, I think for the kit it was about $800, so it is on the more expensive end. But if you want something that's gonna run and actually be consistent in its running, this is a great way to go, especially if you have a lot of weed whacking to do. Now we're gonna skip the electric one really quick here, and we're gonna go over to this other steel. Now this one we actually inherited from a family member. It had never been used previously. And actually I don't think I've even used this one starting up that I can remember. It has your normal choke just like the other one, and then there's our loading bulb right there, and of course our reservoir for the gas hour. You're gonna notice this one's actually really tiny. I'm not sure how much of this is gas. I don't know if it's just this part or if it's this coming into here, but it really looks a lot smaller than the one over here, which you can see this whole thing was full of gas. Now this is actually a much stronger weed whacker than this one right here, so chances might be that that one actually burns fuel a lot more than this one does, so this one probably doesn't need as large of a reservoir tank. This one, just like his friend over there, has a double safety mechanism right here, push button, instant stop. This one actually did have another strap on it, but I took it off to try to use on this one to try to get that one to balance better. So we're going to use this without the strap. We have our handhold here, and of course the unique thing about this one is this guard. There are pros and cons to the guard. The main thing with the guard is you can get right up next to a fence or anything that is fragile and you don't have to worry about cutting it. The downside about the guard is it requires an entirely different technique for trying to cut your grass, and it won't necessarily cut everything, but I'll show you that when we get to it. And then lastly, of course, we have our electric weed whacker. Now for me personally, I found this to be off with the balance. We don't have the battery on the back of it. I have to go inside and get one. On the shelf, it comes with a 3 amp hour battery. I definitely would not recommend a 3 amp hour battery. You're only gonna get maybe half an hour, if that, of life out of it. With the Dewalt, you can get all the way up to 9 amp hour batteries. But honestly, between the 6 and the 9, I didn't notice a huge difference in the amount of hours that you got off from it. So if you're looking to save a little bit of cash and you can get the 6 hour cheaper, go with the 6 amp hour battery. But you're definitely, if you have a yard like this, you're gonna want several batteries to keep you going, because it will not last as long as you think for weed whacking, and you're gonna need to switch batteries out probably every hour. Lastly, this is the string that it comes with. This is pretty much not gonna cut through most things out here on the farm because it is very, very thin. However, what we got this for was cutting around our Christmas trees. So if this won't cut through tough weeds, guess what else it won't cut through? You got it, it will not cut through our Christmas trees, although it will mangle them, and I'll show you that too. Now Eric did go through and buy a heavier gauge string to put inside of this, and we have not tested that yet, mostly because we already have a weed whacker that can cut through the heavy duty stuff. Are still right here. And this one we got for doing around the Christmas trees. So if we put a heavier duty string in there, guess what's gonna happen? We're gonna lose all our Christmas trees. So for that reason, I am begging Eric to not put the heavy duty string in. Let's just leave this one as it is. Conversely, you could also put a different head in there and just change out heads but I'm not entirely sure how easy it is to change heads on this thing. And I really don't want to have to mess with that right now. Now, as far as lightweight, you would think the electric one would be lighter than, say, the gas powered. That is not the case. You would also think the electric one would have less vibration on your hands than the gas powered one. That is also not the case. Surprisingly, the electric one vibrated just as much as the gas powered one, probably because the gas powered one had a lot of research in how to balance it. The other thing that surprised me was the electric one was very off balance. Eric said that he did go through and adjust it so that he could reach the ground a little bit better. If we line all of these up like so, this is all about where they're gonna touch the ground. They're all pretty much about the same. This one probably has a slightly longer reach right here than the other two. And you can see that Eric actually adjusted the handle up here, and it probably could have been more down here. Also, if you moved this down, you might have a little space to be able to attach a swivel clip of some sort on there. This does not come with a carrying strap, nor do they make a carrying strap for it. So that is kind of a problem. We're gonna have to go online and see if we can actually find a carrying strap that would work. If we're able to find one, I'll include a link in this video description. So in the case that you wanna buy this, you can go get a carrying strap to go with it. If I can find all of these on Amazon, I'll also include links for those too. So that way, if you find one that particularly suits your needs, easy enough to find. And now what you've been waiting for is the test. Let's put them all to the test and see how they perform. As you can see, this one's definitely quite loud. I definitely recommend hearing protection if you're going to be using it. It's quite loud. As you can see, you definitely want to wear some eye protection when you use this if you have large chunks of stuff to cut. If you're just doing generalized trim work around your yard, like edging and such, you'll be okay without it. But anything like this on a farm, that vegetation can really get to you. So you definitely want to wear some eye and ear protection. Actually, probably just the chainsaw helmet would do the trick. All right, now let's go test the other steel weed whacker. You want Mom throw it? Sit. Good girl. Good girl. Ready? Go get it. Okay, Mom's gonna get back to work. See, this one shakes pretty good. That blade tends to be thrown off balance, which adds a lot of stress on this. Again, I don't have this strap on it, so we'll just have to take it as is. But I'm gonna show you why we like using this one, and then why we don't like using this one. Okay, so that one was kind of a no-brainer. It seemed to only work well for one thing, and that was cutting grass that was already fairly short. Anything that was actually mature and tall, there was no way it could cut through. And while it was nice because you could bring it right up to the tire and not have to worry about chopping it, if the grass is already long, it's not going to chop the grass either. But if you notice, you can get it right up to the edge of the Christmas tree and it's not going to cut the tree. However, there is something that for us, it will cut if you're not careful. Our irrigation line, while it does stay pretty close to the ground, there are areas where it does rise up a little bit, like right here, just because of the warm weather. Right here, it's pretty well underneath the grass. But if we come up to right here, we can see another spot where it's bubbled up just a little bit because of the heat. This is going to be a problem because that weed whacker is able to cut so close, it can actually scalp the ground, and then it can actually slice right through this tubing without even pausing to take a breath. And that would be a very expensive fix and very frustrating fix to have to go through and patch a million holes in your tubing irrigation. As much as I really like using this around the trees, it's just not the safest option overall. But it would work really well if you're cutting around plants and you've got little bits of grass like this that are growing up to the point where it can bend them over. If you can easily push them over like this, then it can easily cut them. Just very gently walking my hand over it, it can cut this. But anything that's stronger than that, it can't push over and it cannot cut it. And it has a lot of vibration on your hand, which makes it really uncomfortable to use. Mostly because this rim right here gets filled up with grass and it doesn't fill up evenly, so it causes it to vibrate worse. So would I recommend this head? I would. If you have Christmas trees or other sensitive plants that you don't want to cut, this is a great tool to have. If you have irrigation lines, you really have to be careful. And if you have mature grass, it's not even going to work. So keep that in mind with this weed whacker. All right, one of the reasons Eric was interested in getting this particular electric weed whacker was because it used the Dewalt batteries. We actually had several of these from our power planter auger system. It uses a Dewalt power head and it uses these large batteries. So since we already had several of them, it kind of made sense to get the Dewalt weed whacker too. And actually, he was able to get a really great buy on this particular weed whacker. This one he actually got at Ace Hardware store. They were running a special where you could get this weed whacker along with a 6 amp hour battery, and they also threw in an extra 9 amp hour battery too, free of charge. That's like a $350 value. So it just made sense for him to go with this particular model. Now, if you're not familiar with the power planting system, there is a link right up above here that you can go ahead and click and check that out. It uses these Dewalt batteries and a Dewalt power head, and it is a powerhouse. That thing can power through hard, dry clay, it can power through rocks, and of course it can power through normal dirt. But it has been a huge blessing for our Christmas tree farm to be able to plant trees because we don't have to haul out the tractor, try to wrestle on the giant post hole digger on that thing. Especially if we have to replant just a couple of trees in our rows, we can't drive the tractor down that anyway. So it just works great. So we're gonna get this battery on. This is freshly charged. Easy as can be. Now here is the hard part. All right, so starting this electric weed whacker is a massive pain in the butt. It is so hard to do. It's gonna take you probably a good hour just to get it going. I mean, literally, that took an hour. I'm just joking, it doesn't take an hour. It's literally just that much. Just hand on, hand off, and it's ready to go. One thing you're gonna notice though, is because it is electric, it has a very slow delay. So with the gas, it's pretty much instant. You pull the trigger, it's fired up. You let go of the trigger, it slows right down. This one is a gradual speed up and a gradual slow down. The other thing that you're gonna notice about this is it only has 2 speeds. With a normal weed whacker, you can throttle it faster or slower with your throttle right here. But on this one, it's either on or it's off. So instead, you actually have to throttle it right here with that button. Now we're on the low setting. And then high. And I'll show you both of those in action here in just a minute. So this does have an added safety feature that you're gonna have to take note of. It has a flip right here. So in order to push this down, you actually have to depress this too. It's a double safety. It's not like you're gonna push this down and it's gonna go anyway. You still have to push the bottom one for it to actually engage. Now, while people online found it to be a massive pain in the butt to the point where they dismantled it, I didn't find it to be that big of a deal. You just slide your finger forward and it's depressed. So it really wasn't a big hassle. I just you know, it's not like it starts up that fast anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. All right, so now that you've seen the basics on this, let's take it out and try it on some grass. And again, keep in mind, this is just the piddly dunk little weed whacker line that comes with it. So we're just gonna test it on this as it is. Now you're probably wondering, if I get up too close to the trees, what happens? Well, I have some footage of that for you right here. So here's one where I actually went through and scalped it pretty good. I took all the bark off straight around the tree. You can see that it's still producing new branches down here, but part of it is obviously dying. But this was a common occurrence. There actually was one that I did manage to completely decapitate the entire thing off. But for the most part, it's just getting wrapped around the tree and then pulling it straight up. So that is a little bit of a pain in the butt, but less likely to destroy the tree than the gas-powered one. And it definitely shouldn't destroy the line at all. All right, let's take this into the field. Just carrying it like this is actually pretty lightweight, but as far as being balanced in hand while you're using it, it feels about as heavy as the gas-powered one, even though technically I think it's lighter. Let's see what she can do. We're gonna try it on low first, and then we're gonna try it on high. All right, now we're gonna try it on high. Well, obviously this is going to be an issue with it. So overall, the electric weed whacker doesn't have quite as much power as the gas-powered variety. However, it does stand up very strongly and hold its own in the competition. And it's entirely possible that if you were to put a heavy-duty line in this, it could be a total game changer. But honestly, with the line that it has, I was really surprised it was able to take down the plants that I did throw at it. Some of those were pretty thick and pretty solid, so it did really well. And overall, this is definitely going to be my favorite option for using on the Christmas trees, because it's less likely to full-on destroy something. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it offered you a little bit of insight into at least these 3 types of weed whackers. And if you're in the market for a weed whacker, like I said, you can click any of the links in the video description and find some products to relate to that. Maybe if you guys really want it, I can do another review of the Dewalt with all of the different attachments that we have with it and how they stack up, but we'll see.
All right, so this is my head of choice for trimming around the little Christmas trees. You can really get aggressive and you don't have to be as careful. You still want to be careful, but not as careful as the lined units. I mean, the line units, they will chop right through these little trees if you're not careful. So the issue with this is like tall grass, it doesn't like it a lot, but there's a certain technique I found that will work with tall grass. You kind of have to bump it, and we'll just show you a quick demonstration around some of these trees. And this head does like high RPM. It will keep it from clogging so much. So high RPM. I'm thinking about switching it to our more powerful weed whacker to see how it does. But this one does okay. It's not super powerful though. Yeah, like most of these, you know, you put an Allen key down here, you can turn the head off and put on any weed whacker you got. We might try it on the electric and see how that does. Electric's nice, it's lighter, instant power. Alright.
Oh, there it is.
Here's our little tree. It's so tall. Worst thing that can happen is they get, then you just give it a bump on the ground. It comes off. When it gets that stuck in there, it doesn't let you rev it up as high. It just doesn't have the power to. So my back is feeling better. By the way, I've been going to that chiropractor and I got my back brace on. And I'm doing keto diet again. So I don't look so fat for you guys on camera. I see all the comments. Oh, Suzanne feeding me well.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much. If you're not subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe channel so you can stay tuned for all of our farming adventures and stay up to date on what's happening with our newest venture, the Christmas tree farm. Thanks so much, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good time. Take care. Bye.